Hey folks, Mike Israetel here for the Making Progress channel. I never know how to introduce myself. Sometimes I say Dr. Mike, but I do not have a doctoral degree in progress. In any case, today's topic is, as you've probably seen in the thumbnail and title, the myth of multitasking. So what the hell is multitasking that I'm talking about? What's it supposed to look like? Let's paint a little picture that I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with from having access to any media at all. There's like this example, kind of archetype of multitasking. It's the CEO guy. He is at a soccer game for his son, but he's checking texts. He's looking at data on his phone, and he cheers for his kid when the kid maybe kicked the ball, or was it the other team that scored? I can't really tell. And he's texting with his wife like, yep, Connor and I will be home at 5:30. Thanks so much. What do I need to pick up at the grocery store? And also between those things coming in and between him looking at where his son is on the field and he still hasn't fallen down and doesn't need dad's attention, he's going to check his socials at the same time too. Go to Instagram, go to my Twitter, do whatever. That's multitasking. And multitasking is this thing that you're supposed to be really good at and strive to do for a few reasons. One, ostensibly, all of these are ostensibly, which is to say allegedly, but maybe not really, because that's how you get the most work done in high-income, busy lifestyles. You look at, walk through wealthy areas like New York City, for example, Manhattan. A lot of people are like, back a few years ago, a decade ago, everyone was on their BlackBerries, right? Now everyone's on their smartphones and earpieces, and they're doing a million things all at the same time. And that's just like what successful people do, right? You're busy, you got to multitask. Another thing is people think if you're not multitasking, you're falling behind because nobody has enough time to do all the things that you're supposed to do. You have to multitask. Everyone knows that. And it's because successful people in media and movie depictions look like. Show me a CEO in a media depiction that isn't multitasking to introduce the CEO character. That's just kind of what the vibe is supposed to be. And here's the thing, multitasking has use cases. It is successful in a few different use cases, but not all. First, small and intellectually easy tasks can be multitasked. And a lot of times the kinds of tasks that I'm talking about are like communications stuff. So if someone texts you and he's like, hey, that report you wrote, that was report C or report D? You're like, C, enter, send. He's like, smiley face, or gives the thumbs up reacts. You can do that in the middle of doing a lot of other stuff. And it's so easy that it's not like, oh, there's this crazy context switch or something, which I'll get to in a bit. Sometimes it's just real seamless to do a bunch of stuff. And if you're doing phone work, as I call it, you get on your socials, you check your socials, you get in your LinkedIn or whatever the hell, you check that, you text back some friends when you were off doing deep work. You can kind of do those kind of all at the same time. And that's technically multitasking, but we're not talking about megalith earth mover projects you're doing. Each one of these is simple and kind of a node of action that ends really quick. It's like responded to friend, checked the DMs, it's over. And so click, 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 I get it all done and it handles itself, no problem. Sometimes you're just real short on time and you have to get a few things done. Like you're recording a podcast with someone and the podcast has to be split into two parts. And you're like, can I go to the bathroom? And you do. And you get your phone out while you're taking a dump and you just smear. No, I'm kidding. You start to look at your shit and you're like, oh crap, I do still help run a company. Guess I respond to a couple emails, check my DMs. Oh yes, I do want to collab. Yes, I am in LA tomorrow. Oh my God, I'm glad you got me. See you at 9 a.m. at Gold's Gym. Send. Put phone down, wipe ass, wash hands, take the alcohol swab and wipe your phone because it's covered in shit. Go back out, finish the podcast. Sometimes short time is just a thing that happens to you and you gotta multitask. That's totally a thing and it really works. And of course, there's kind of work emergencies. For example, let's say you're finally going off camping with your friends for a whole week, out of office label. You're at a gas station picking up gas. This is the last time you're going to have cell phone reception in a week, which is thank God. I'm tired of the stupid phone already. But an email pops up And it's the final major email that goes out to your contractor. And it's really important for your whole office that you give one final look at it. Yeah, as you're filling up the gas, you look through the email and like you don't even notice that the gas is full. And your friends in the car are like, hey, are you done? And you're like, oh shit, yep. And that line is good. Send. Hey guys, this email looks really great. I confirm. Feel free to send. Enter. Confirm send, go to sent mail. The thing flew off, sent, cling, put the phone away. Hey, sorry guys, take it out, take out the fueling pump situation, put it back, ring the shit, get your credit card in, get into the car, and you're off. An extra 30 seconds of nuisance for your friends. You're free and clear for the rest of the week. That just has to happen at some point. That's the nature of work emergencies or kind of work things. That's totally cool. I'm not telling you not to multitask on stuff like that. However, multitasking has distinct limits that we have to talk about. And thus, it's not something you want to cultivate as your number one modus operandi. It's not something you want to be your first go-to way of doing things. First, to be intellectually clear, in a strict sense, as is understood by many people, multitasking is nearly impossible because you can really actually only do one thing at a time. In real life, multitasking is actually just switching often from one task to another while you work on a bigger task. So you're editing an email, you respond to some Slack DMs, keep editing the email, respond to some texts, edit the email, go to your Insta. That's what multitasking ends up looking like. Or multitasking is a couple of those really quick tasks in succession. I check this, I respond to that, I do that, and then I'm off. That's really multitasking. And you can tell that the big thing with multitasking is constant context switching. And that implies at least 4 things. First, if you're multitasking, inherently you have a lower ability to do deep work. If you're engineering, if you're doing software engineering and you're coding up this amazing component of your app, but then like 3 times during that, you have to take a 15-minute call with another department, coming back and reorienting yourself with where you were with the idea structures, oh my God, it's insanely annoying. You make your best gains to do real, meaningful, deep work in stretches of 45 minutes to kind of like 2 to 4 hours. If you have to multitask where you never even get 15 minutes of focus on one thing, whatever it is you're making is not either going to be possible or nearly as good after you make it as if you really had some fucking time with it. That's a big deal. So yes, you can multitask little things, but you don't create tons of deep value doing that. And it's probably not the big lever in your career. The way you make real big moves in your career is deep work, developing real serious shit. How do I make these lectures for you guys before I deliver them? Deep work. I'm in my office. My phone is on Do Not Disturb. Short of my wife coming downstairs and being like, hey, this needs to happen now, you can't get to me when I'm doing deep work. How do I work on the 2 apps that we make at RP, the Diet Coach app and the Hypertrophy app? Only deep work. How do I script out for YouTube videos and all this other stuff that we do? It's just deep work. When Scott, the video guy, is pointing the camera on our shoots when we travel or we're in the gym, he just has one job. I have never in my life seen Scott, the video guy, do the camera and look at his phone while he's on set and then put it back. And it won't happen because he's just got one job. If Scott had to multitask, you would see it reflected in our production quality. That's all I'm going to say. Next, not only is this just an impossible thing to do in deep work and in real productive work, having to reorient to the next context is stressful. It gives you higher stress levels. You guys ever see people that are like kids like, Johnny, stop playing with that. Got to text this person back. Got to check the socials. What are we doing tonight? Are we getting drunk? Yes, the kids have a sitter. Do they look like they're having a good time? Now, some people get off on that sort of thing in short chunks. But if you're doing a lot of work, enough to really push your career forward or your schooling forward, then a lot of multitasking drains the living daylights out of you, and not in a fun way. When you do a ton of deep work, you feel drained, but you feel happy. You're like, I created something. And you just chill out watching cartoons for the rest of the day. When you have a day of just frantic multitasking, how do you feel after? Me personally, I feel frantic, and I keep feeling frantic because you're in that mode. Oh God, okay, another DM is going to come in and I'm going to have to do it. You guys ever see people, even on their break, they still check their phone, like YouTube and Instagram and Gmail and Slack? What are you doing? Switch off. It's easier said than done because you're in that mode now of go, 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 go. And that's a really high stress. If anything is going to stop you in your career, stress is a big one. Another problem number 3, is that you have a much higher probability of making mistakes. If you're multitasking and one of the things you multitask is an email to a very important client, you might actually type in the wrong section and you send your client an email that says, hey man, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to go out tonight. I'm ready to fucking party. Where are the sluts at? Send. The guy's like, hey, I think you meant this Friday at 4:54 p.m. I think you meant to send this to your friend. You're like, oh God, Mr. Nakamura, what I meant to say was the sluts are an analogy for the process control you guys have at your fab in Silicon Valley. Oh my God. I mean, you're not done, and most of the errors won't be that bad, but you're not exactly putting out high quality shit. And if anything you're trying to multitask in is what you call high quality work, that's now low quality work. And if it doesn't need to be high quality, great. But remember, it's a fine use case for multitasking if you have a bunch of little shit to do. However, if it's important little shit, even that suffers from multitasking because sending back an email with 4 words in it is different if it's an email from just your buddy versus if it's an email from that $2 billion contract you might get. If it's that email, you can't check DMs, check YouTube, check this, text your wife a picture of your genitals, and then go into that email. You got to be like, okay, this is from Mr. Nakamura. Holy shit. Fuck it. Let me get out of the email app. Let me go into text app. I'm going to go into a text app. I'm going to really take about 15 minutes to draft out a really good email back to him. It's just a couple, like it's a paragraph that he requested, but I want to make it good. Then I'm going to copy that and put it in ChatGPT and Claude 3.5. And I'm going to go, this will age hilariously because in like 2 years, it'll be like Claude 3.5 was like floppy disk of fucking LLMs. You put it in there to be like, can you reword this to be more conciliatory and word it in a way that someone who's a native Japanese speaker and native Japanese cultural person would probably find more amenable. Now, GPT actually can do that. So it re-renders your shit and you're like, can you give me 2 more options? I want to get a few more options, all with those things, just make them a bit different. It does that. You're like, oh my God, option 2, except I'm going to take this word and replace it with this one from option 1 to 2. Now that looks real good. Now I paste into the email. And then I reread the shit twice because Mr. Nakamura has a $2 billion account for us. We could be making all his microchips for his company or not. That whole thing before you hit send, you might even send it to a friend first and be like, dude, this is a big deal. What do you think? And he's your friend at the company. He's like, this looks awesome. Ooh. I know that he has this weird thing where he likes like XYZ kind of stuff. And you mentioned the other kind of thing, because like maybe there's 2 kinds of microchips they make, but one they're trying to phase out and the other one they're really phasing in, even though we don't agree with them and our architecture makes both. Talk about that other microchip, right? Your friend has to get back to you. That's a little bit of time. That is now a deep work task. That is not a task that you do on the train between sending your wife pictures of your balls. And so if it's important, even if it's quick, it's not a multitasking effort anymore. It's a deep work effort, and it's worth it. Because when Mr. Nakamura responds, he's like, hey, here's the document. I signed my part. You guys sign yours. You guys got all our microchip manufacturer contract for the next 5 years. Enjoy your $2 billion. You're like, you take your phone, you throw it against some lady. You're like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw it at your face. I have enough money to pay for anything you want in regards to your face. Oh my God. It's amazing and unbelievable. But if you do multitasking and you're wheeling and dealing all the fucking time, your probability for making not so high quality work and making mistakes is higher than you would want it to be when the stakes are high, is what I'm going to say. And lastly, in my experience, and everyone's different, typically you get substantially less enjoyment of your work if you have high pressure multitasking as the thing that you do. You end up treating work as a let me get through this kind of thing versus a let me sit down and make some deep value. If I just respond to texts and DMs, it's technically my job. I don't get a lot of feeling good after that. I'm like, oh, thank God I cleared those fucking DMs. They'll be refilled tomorrow to 20 new ones. But if I make kind of like a logical subroutine for one of our apps to do a cool new thing no app is capable of, and it took me 3 hours to make it and vet it and send it to the engineers and get on a call, and they go, yeah, that looks good for us. Actually, this one part, can you explain better? Explain it and then go. Once I'm done with that, I'm like, oh my God, I really did the thing. So typically one of the side benefits of deep work, other than the fact that it creates most of the value of the modern world and most of the value you'll ever make in your life, is it feels really good during and after. Multitasking, usually not so much. You imagine a husband gets home and the wife's like, how was work, honey? He's like a chicken with my head cut off. And she's like, I love it. Just like you always wanted. You're like, yep, that's my favorite job. It's possible. Some people are wheelers and dealers. Most people, I think, prefer calmer, deeper work, but they're under the illusion that the successful multitask, and that's just how they do things. It used to be, it's better now because folks like Elon Musk are kind of telling us, like, stop doing all this bullshit. You get Chris Williamson podcast. He's got a lot of great guests about the value of deep work and the opposite of value of trying to multitask everything. We're getting a cultural wisdom now where we know that successful people are actually deep workers, but it used to be like everyone thought that's just how successful people did it, and you just didn't know any better. So you multitasked and you didn't get as much out of it as you thought. And here's the thing, another downside. So the first downside is kind of those 4 things where the context switching gives you lower ability to do deep work. You get higher stress from this process. You get a higher probability of making mistakes, and you get less enjoyment of your work. Socially, there's another cost. Your friends, your family, your coworkers really might not love you multitasking around them because they know for a fact you're not giving them your undivided attention. You're at your desk fucking texting someone, and your secretary's like, hey, I've got those forms. You're like, thanks, Sheila. Did you hear her? How important are the forms? Where is she supposed to put them? Who the fuck knows? It's weird to interact with people that you know for a fact may or may not be paying attention to what you're saying. That's what multitasking is. Now, you can do it better where you put your phone down and you go, hey, what's going on? Oh, those forms, that's to fill out tomorrow, right? Thank you so much. Hey, Sheila, you're doing great work. That's totally a thing you can do. But it's tough because if you ratchet multitasking up enough in your head as important, you're like, well, instead of putting my phone down and wasting a bunch of time, I know what Sheila's going to say. She brings these forms every fucking week. I can just text through and be like, got it. And then you're no fun to work with anymore. And you might not love the process because it potentially reduces meaningful interactions to checklist style things. Like, your wife's like, how was Connor's soccer game? You're like, yeah. It was great. And she's like, oh, awesome. And she's kind of tossing the pasta. She's like, did he score a goal? And you're like, time to find out. Are you do you do white lies or not? Because you have no idea if he scored a goal or not. You were buried in your phone the entire time. You don't know. And you're like, hey, buddy, just score a goal. And your wife looks at you like, what were you doing? You're like, I was there. Physically, I brought the kid back, right? She's like, yeah. So I was a soccer game. You were like, look, honestly, honey, I was working the whole time. She's like, oh, like important project? You're like, emails, DMs. Bob texted me. You know how Bob gets with his memes. I had to text him back. So my body was there at the soccer game. If something unfortunate was to happen to our son, a responsible parent was there technically. But no, I didn't see the soccer game. And as a matter of fact, honestly, honey, if you asked me how was Connor's field hockey game, I would have answered you the same way because I just only nominally know the sport that he plays. Because to be honest, I've never seen him do it. I don't even know if he's on the bench or if he's on the field. Like, what the fuck? You're going to go to your kid's soccer game and you're there to work and the kid understands that? Dope. That's just how dad is. That's how we have all these millions. But if you're really there and you want to watch your fucking pride and joy at age 6 kick a ball and turn and look at you and you wave, you did it, buddy, you're the man. Those kinds of memories you can't get on your fucking phone. That's real life. You cool with missing that shit? Dope. Fucking multitask away. You want real immersive experiences, beautiful things you can never replace. You're going to have to put your phone down. That's just how it works. So, what is the way forward? Yes, sometimes you have to multitask, and that's totally okay. You just got to do it. You're under that constraint. Do what you got to do, no problem. But try to organize your schedule around roughly 3 primary operating modes and not much else, with minimal overlap. Mode 1 is deep work. Mode 2 is involved family/friends/leisure time. When my wife and I watch stupid reality shows together, that's all that's happening. Stupid reality shows, the only thing going on. And the last thing is uninterrupted time that you get just to yourself, whether it's swimming laps at the YMCA pool at 6 a.m. before the day starts, whether it's workouts, runs, meditations, taking a walk for reflection, just lying in bed before you go to sleep and really reflecting on some stuff. That is all really good stuff. So you got personal reflection time, you got involved family, friends, leisure time, and you have deep work. If you spend your time mostly in those 3 categories, uninterrupted, you're going to be very productive, you're going to be very fulfilled, and the people around you are going to think you're pretty fucking sweet. If you spend almost all of your time in a frantic, dizzying daze of multitasking, everything, you'll have a time. Maybe even a very good time, but you're going to miss out on some real deep stuff. And if you get the deep stuff, you get immense benefits from that deep immersion in your major life processes. From a production perspective, you make more money, you make more value for the world. From a psychological perspective to you, you're just happier doing it instead of being frazzled all the time. And to your social sphere, because your important people around you get your undivided attention. If you can do that most of the time and multitask only when required, I think it's a better time than the other way around. Fucking what do I know? Anyway, catch you guys next time.